The Prime Minister asked the GC52 then कि आपने मेरे से परमिशन पूछा ऑपरेशन के लिए और मैंने जब ऑपरेशन करो बोला वो 15 सेकंड के अंदर तो आपने वापस रिपोर्ट दे दिया कि ऑपरेशन खत्म हो गया। बोलता हाँ सर ऐसे ही होता है। बोलता क्या बात करते हो आप? बोलता यस सर
That happens, the commando is already there.
इट विल हैपन। एयरक्राफ्ट के अंदर तो दैट गाय स्टूपिड गाय इज ऑलरेडी स्टैंडिंग देयर आपके साथ। यू जस्ट वेट फॉर हिम टू कम क्लोज टू यू, पकड़ो उसको लगाओ। डोंट बी डिपेंडेंट ऑन समबडी एल्स की स्काई मार्शल होगा नहीं होगा, काउंटर हाईजैक 52 एसएजी आएगी। कर्नल कश्यप ने बोला था ये आएंगे। इंतजार मत करो, हाँ तुम्हारा जिंदगी एक है, निपटाओ उसको पकड़ के। Just got the report for deepest penetration into Pakistan. You're just looking at each other and looking out for, if you can spot them, you fire, shoot them, and if they see you first, they shoot at you. If they wanted, they could have come and occupied Srinagar airport. And had they taken over the Srinagar airport, Indian army would have had hell of a time to reach or take back Kashmir. In Baramulla, they raped every woman there and they killed every man. I met somebody, shook hands with him, then I realized this guy's a militant actually.
Oh.
This guy just turns and with the AK.
What I've heard also is about a tradition that special forces people eat their glasses. Do you know what is tough? Getting into Indian Army. Even tougher, getting into Para SF. And the toughest, NSG 52, which takes care of anti-hijacking operations. Today we have with us a very special guest, a person who has served in all these important organizations and is a Shaurya Chakra awardee. Please welcome Col Kaushal Kashyap, the man himself. He's going to talk about his adventures and all his time in these forces. A very warm welcome to you, sir. It's been an honor to host you on this podcast, and I have a lot of questions to you, but I'm deeply respectful that you have agreed to come on this podcast. Right. First of all, I would like to ask you a little bit about your journey. You started from NDA, then you joined IMA, then Para SF, then now in NSG. Right? So how has your journey been?
First of all, thank you so much, Aditya ji. It's a pleasure to be here with, on your show, and I would like to say hello to all the viewers. Yeah, the journey has been fantastic, and if I had to had an option to choose my life again, this is exactly what I would have probably done. I really enjoyed my life. It just couldn't have been better. More thrilling and more eventful, more purposeful. And yes, I've been very lucky that a lot of good things happened to me along the way. Right from the start, I got selected in National Defense Academy, and of course, IMA comes. You have to go to IMA if you've been selected from NDA. From there, I got commissioned to 3 JAT, and I used to be a Special Forces volunteer, but I had a knee surgery, so I had not opted for Special Forces from the academy. I had opted for infantry, and I had opted for the Gurkhas. I got the JAT regiment. I was very fortunate. I got one of the finest of the platoons, that is 3 JAT, which is, I've been mentioning it always. It has got the record for deepest penetration into Pakistan. 1965 Battle of Dograi, that is the time it had almost reached Lahore, Batapur shoe factory.
Okay.
Yeah, it crossed the Ichogal Canal twice. So I was fortunate to have been commissioned to 3 JAT, and once I got commissioned, I was posted to a place, Uri. Everybody knows Uri now, yeah. After the surgical strikes, the movie, yes. So that's where I was, and we were deployed along the line of control, where it's called an eyeball to eyeball deployment, where the Pakistani posts are right across, and at some places they as close as 70 meters, the other places they are about 150, 200, 300, 500, or even a kilometer apart. There are such, so you're just looking at each other, and you're looking out for, if you can spot them, you fire, shoot them, and if they see you first, they shoot at you.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's how it was. Yeah, it still is, and though we have the ceasefire in place, at least on documents, and then after spending some time with the 3 JAT, I opted for the Special Forces, and I have been with them ever since. Then it's only when I got approved for command, I picked up my rank for Colonel. So Colonel is a selection grade, and once you get selected for Colonel, I was given a choice that would you like to go to NSG, and because because the command of my unit, that is 21 Para Special Forces, wasn't coming vacant. There was no space there. Colonel Karki was already commanding. So I was told that, would you like to move and take over 52 Special Action Group? I mean, again, I would only like to thank God. That was a good opportunity for me.
No, I mean, I know a lot actually would have gone behind the scenes to get into all these things, the trainings, the kind of temperament that is required. I'm going to ask you a lot of deep questions on this. But before we head there, for the aspirants who want to be like you, right? The first section that we have is be like you, right? So I would like to know a little bit about your childhood. Did you have any characteristics or very deep interest in joining the forces from back then?
No, not really. My father always wanted us to join. He was a fan of the forces. He was a defense aspirant, and he had got selected, but then he was not permitted to join the forces by his mother, and through us he actually lived the life. And I'm so glad that we could give him that kind of a experience. So I never really wanted to join the forces. There wasn't that kind of a pull towards it. I want to do something different, and everybody in those times were going for medical or engineering, and those were not the lines that I would have been comfortable with. So I wanted to do something different. Childhood, I was pretty good in studies, and very mischievous, of course. And and
You would like to know some story from that also?
uh, no, we like all boys. Me and my brother, we've grown up together. Me and Col Kashyap. He's again in the army. He's from the Assam regiment, and at the moment posted in Leh. Yeah, so we have grown up together, and it's all like all brothers when they grow up, and you're like of the same age. So you're always up to a lot of mischief and taking pangas, picking up fights, and things like that. In fact, yeah. So it's been like that. How my childhood, if I recall, there's been something in me where I cannot accept fear. If I can explain, when there's something where everybody around you is fearful of something, I would like try and show off that I'm not fearful. Even if I'm actually scared to death inside, I somehow would just. There's this example, I've spoken about that as well. So we were very small, I think just about 4 odd years, and we were in a veterinary farm, Loiliang, in the middle of a huge forest in Arunachal Pradesh.
Okay.
Yeah, there was just one small road connecting it, and that was a piggery farm. My father was a manager of that. And that dense forest in Arunachal Pradesh, it was very common to find tigers, very common to find wild animals all around. A number of times we have spotted, in fact, on our veranda, that is just outside our house, we saw it, we found a tiger cub once.
Okay.
The mother and the tigress and the cub had entered, and the villagers or the farm members, they raised this hangama, and the tigress could escape, but the cub could not. So it kept wandering off, and we found it dead in the morning. So it was like that. And whenever we would hear, there was another occasion where there's a tiger that had entered one of the farms, and everybody in the farm were alerted, and my father had rushed, and as he opened the door to the farm, and they were face to face with the tiger. Yeah, those were times like that. So in those circumstances, and whenever we would have a tiger spotting, everybody in the village would be informed, village or the farm would inform, just don't go out, don't go out. And my parents tell me that I would somehow find an excuse to go and play outside. They really had a scary time trying to keep me indoors. So as I relate to it, I think it was probably trying to show off that I'm not scared. I don't get scared. That thing was there. And I've seen that even later as I went into school, and I was always been a short guy and standing first to 3 in the queue. In the yeah, but there have been bullies, and they've tried to come and push you around, and I've always kind of stood there and fought and got beaten black and blue. I mean, it was like almost twice a week I would get beaten up, and I was famous for that. This guy, he keeps getting beaten. So that's how it was.
I mean, now your bullies would be very scared to take any panga with you now.
Yes, quite a few of them. Quite a few of them. Trust me. Trust me, I'm in touch with them, and of course we make fun of those types.
So I mean, from then, from these instances, right? And I'm really, I mean, proud that such kind of brave hearts are in the Indian Army protecting us. And from there, how did you proceed to join the NDA? Then go to IMA. How was your journey there? The kind of experiences you have had, the kind of postings you have had, and also I would like to know the training part of it. How complicated was it? What was there in the training for these different stages where you have worked?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll enter the Braveheart part of it. And Braveheart, I don't consider myself too great. Whatever I've done, I've just been walking along the path, and God has been kind. He's showing me the next step, and that's where I've been going.
That's humility for sure.
No, but that's because I have seen such great personalities, especially in the environment where I have been in my own unit, in the special forces, in my instructors, my juniors also. Some of them, they have such fantastic and such great guys. I mean, what I have done is almost nothing compared to them. Yeah, so I'll now, because I am here as your guest, so I'll tell you my story.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I got selected after my 12th. I was here in Kirodimal College. After 12, I joined Kirodimal College, and then I appeared for National Institute of Fashion Technology. I was pretty good in arts.
Okay.
And I got selected there. I had appeared for Merchant Navy, Shipping Corporation of India. I got selected there as well. And then I went for NDA, and I got selected there again. So I had to make a choice between all of these. And because my parents were completely for the army, they said, "Ki, that's where you're going." Also, there's another part of it where once I got selected in my NDA, the kind of boys who had got selected, out of 24 of us who had appeared for the SSB, 7 of us got selected.
Okay.
And in those 7, 6 were RIM Kolians, and I was the only one from a complete civilian background.
Okay.
Yeah. So 7 out of 24 is a
Big number.
big number. So many guys, I mean, hardly so many people get selected in SSB. So whatever said or done, these 6 guys, when I started interacting with them, you could make out that there's a level of sophistication, there's a level of, they're good guys who have actually got selected. So that's when you start respecting the SSB, the selection procedure, that yes, they have in some manner selected the best of the guys. And that was that pull to be in such company, because you realize if an NDA is going to be all such people who are such selected lot. So that kind of a thing was there, that yes, this is where you will end up in a very classy kind of environment. And that's how I landed up in NDA. But you know what? There's something interesting that I would like the viewers to know. When I had opted for NDA, the form that I had filled, I had opted for Navy.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And that was because I was scared to join the army.
Okay.
Well, that's a confession that I'm making. I've made that quite a few times, but that is actually, I was scared to join the army. We have had number of fights, but I could not come to terms of the fact that in the army, somebody is going to aim and try and kill you. You'll be moving in a convoy, and there will be IEDs placed around, and they're going to bomb that damn place, and they're going to try and kill you when you're there. So ये चीज़ ना हजम नहीं होती थी somehow. You know, that's how. And
I think because of the civilian background also, you did not have a lot of...
I had no, yes, the entire exposure was waving at those military convoys who were passing by.
Yeah.
We were in a place called Teju there. And the movies, yes. And every movie that you watch, the army guy ends up dying somewhere. Yeah. So that's how, and the wives keep crying. So that's how it's always projected. So, yes, I used to be scared. But something I read when I was NDA, I come back for the term back and got a book called Genocides.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I read there, 2 incidents that really have a very clear thing in my mind. That is, first is the 47-48 war.
Okay.
Yeah. When we got independence, everybody knows, when we got independence, Kashmir was an independent state. Yep.
Yeah.
And sometime around 15th of August, we got independence, and sometime around 22nd of October, the Pakistanis, they launched an operation into Kashmir. They sent in their Kabali wallahs. And by around 26th of October, they reached Baramulla. And Baramulla is just 50 kilometers from Srinagar airport.
Yeah.
If they wanted, they could have come and occupied Srinagar airport. And had they taken over the Srinagar airport, Indian army would have had hell of a time to reach or take back Kashmir. We would have lost Kashmir, because we would have had to fight right from Jammu and keep going up along that entire stretch of road in the mountains to open that road, reach those places, cross the Banihal Pass, go down and take over Srinagar airport. Would have been hell of a operation. It's very difficult. You know why these guys did not?
What I read, correct me if I'm wrong, that they wanted to go to the Kashmir airport and take it over, but our guys flew in the night and they captured the airport and showed their presence so that they could basically push back the Pakistanis. Was that the story?
What happened before that? On 25th or 26th, they would have done it. 25th itself. They could have done it if they wanted, but they wasted one night in Baramulla. They raped every woman there and they killed every man. That is where they lost the battle.
Oh.
There was a convent of, I'm forgetting the name, just missing that name. There were a couple of Anglo-Indian Britishers and Anglo-Indian nurses there. They plundered the entire place. And that is where they got delayed.
Okay.
Yeah, and I realize if the army of a country is not strong, this is what is going to happen. It actually moved me so much that, yes, if people like me who's got selected in National Defense Academy, I don't want to go and fight there. Who is going to fight? Those guys are going to fight who don't want to be there. He will never be a good fighter. I mean, of course, there are such people who have been legendary, who have done exceptionally well. But yes, that actually moved me, and I realized that no, I will train myself, I'll prepare myself, and I will go there and fight. And eventually, along the way, I ended up in Special Forces. The second example that I was talking about was the Dhaka incident. Yeah, in 1971, when we have the same enemy, the Pakistanis. Once they started from Dhaka, they raped every woman that they could find. They killed every man that they could find. And that
I was reading recently that there are around 25,000 to 50,000 kids born out of the rapes from the Pakistan army in the Bangladesh.
I'm sure
that's a huge number.
I'm sure there would be. If you see, I think somewhere around more than 4 lakh or 5 lakh women were raped.
So, I mean, we keep on hearing about the professionalism of Indian Army, and I think on the contrary, these kind of instances are attached to the Pakistan Army. So it requires a lot of effort from our forces to counter these Pakistani forces, right? And I think that was one of the conviction that you had to join army, essentially.
Yeah, not when I was joining the army, but once I joined the army, the environment in India was such that I read about these things, and it seriously had a lasting impact on me. I would have wanted to be behind and watch. So I chose to go into battle, and that's the best I could do, actually.
That is a great thing. And on the same point, I mean, what are the instances where you actually came eye to eye with the Pakistanis? You had any battle with them, short battles on the border, any kind of skirmishes that keep on happening on the border?
No, not really. Not with the Pakistanis, actually. I've had a number of operations, especially after I moved to 21 Para SF, and we were specialists in the Northeast. And I have had a lot of such operations and experiences in the Northeast, but not exactly in the Valley. Valley, I was there for a very short time, where we were eyeball to eyeball. We had exchange of fires. There's one post here, there's another post there, and we would open up with all our guns. They would come up with all their guns, and there would be arty shelling, the artillery.
Yeah.
It's there's a term, I think, God of War or something they are called. It's terrifying. When you hear arty round falling somewhere around you, it's more than a Dolby digital stereo effect. The earth shakes like that, and you're sitting inside a bunker and just waiting for that damn round to fall, and you don't know where it's going to fall. That's some experience you have.
We had a glimpse of it from the movie Lakshay.
Yeah. It's shown
saw
very
a bit
well.
of
Yes. It's shown very well there. Yeah, that's how it is. All every time there's one, the dust falls off the ceiling, and
Yeah. And you mentioned about Northeast. We have had a problem in the Northeast since a long time, and sometimes it's said that China or somebody is sponsoring these kind of activities, but we have some internal problems also, right? So, what was your experience there serving in the Northeast, and what are the kind of operations that you were a part of?
See, exactly the link with the China, I have never seen it myself. There are stories, there are reports that initially at least the Nagas and the Manipuri militants had crossed over to and trained there and come back. I'm sure there is a supply of weapons and all, but weapons you can buy from anyone. You're just buying them. I don't call it direct support or anything like that. And that kind of support, personally, I have not experienced. I'm not the right guy to comment on that. Been more of an operational thing. Intelligence guy may be able to brief you better on that. So not about the China, but yes, there has been insurgency. It's a fact. It has been there. It has been there in almost all the states of the Northeast. Assam, it's been there. Mizoram, it has been there. And Mizoram, it is one of the most peaceful states now, with highest literacy rate. And Lal Denga was made the chief minister, the main insurgent leader there. So he could control the things. He could get everything under control. That is one of the best success stories that we have. How insurgency has been controlled in our country. Manipur has been disturbed. Nagaland has been disturbed. Arunachal, there are so many militant organizations. So fairly large part of Arunachal is untouched. Tripura, there have been insurgents. Even Meghalaya, there have been insurgents. So on and off, yes. Most of these are because they feel neglected, that it's towards one corner and so away from Delhi. Some people do feel that they're alienated and they get lesser of funds and they're neglected and stuff like that. So that's what I mean. Basically, my idea is everybody wants that glamour of weapon and carrying, and you see that, and not everybody can join the forces. So those who cannot join the forces, they are out up to some mischief, and they find excuses. Ki, yeah, we are not being looked after, we are not being done this, and yeah.
I think a major part of it is also the leaders who encourage these people, provide the arms, and also lack of development that is there in the Northeast compared to the other parts of India, which lead people to join these kind of insurgency groups.
It used to be like that. Things have improved so much. Things have improved. Northeast is doing so well now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's doing so well. There's a different story across in all the states. Would have a different reason for insurgency. Different reason altogether. Ulfa, when it started, it had a good vision. Yeah, it felt that the Northeast was being neglected, and it had a lot of visionaries. It had a lot of senior people who were doing very well, extremely well. They were the ones, but slowly, it became more of a business. It became more of a mafia, and that's when they realized this was just misleading the youth, and so it transformed into what it is today. It's almost non-existent as of date, but that's how it is. Manipur, it's a different story altogether. Nagaland, it's a different story altogether.
So what are the key problem areas now? We keep on hearing in the news that this problem of left-wing extremism is going to go away in the near future, right? 3-4 years. So how are things progressing now? Is development improving? That's why we are able to do that, or a lot of force has been deployed, which takes care of these elements.
It's a mix of both. It's development. I think without development, the forces cannot curb insurgency or any form of disgruntlement among the youth, because it's very difficult to keep everybody in good humor. You cannot satisfy everybody. Just not possible. There will be some people, part of the society who will always feel offended. Some guys will want quota कि हमें भी quota दे दो. आप इसको दे दोगे तो the others get affected.
Yeah.
कितनों को आप quota देते रहोगे?
Correct.
How far? मतलब to what extent it is going to go? So it's very difficult to pacify, or it's very difficult to keep everybody happy. There's just no way you can keep everybody happy. That is why I remembered or something, but it's better I should not talk about it. So yeah, so it's very difficult to keep everybody happy. That I wouldn't say should be the aim anywhere, to keep everybody happy. People should also understand that, but in a crowd, in a mass, when the population is as such, it is not always the interest of the nation or the country or the community takes precedence. It is, इसमें मेरा क्या है? So we're talking about insurgency.
The kind of operations that you're led.
Yeah, just
a lot of guerrilla warfare is also there.
Yeah, just a little before that, just to continue with what I was trying to say. You know how an insurgency can end? An insurgency can only end when the children of today, they aspire to join the forces. They aspire to become part of the government rather than join the insurgency. So it is a game of generations. It takes almost 3 generations to control insurgency. So it's not just going to happen once in a while, and everywhere there are going to be problems. And yeah, so
one is I think that's a very interesting point that you made, that it takes 3 generations, right? And it's been a long standing problem. What can we consider that? What generation are we on there? Is it the 2nd generation that is there, or from here it's going to take 3 generations?
Yeah, I think we were almost entering the 3rd generation in some parts of it, especially in the northeast, and things are getting much better. It's only Manipur has become disturbed, and this is not related to the insurgency. Of course, it is because of the insurgency and presence of the insurgents that things are aggravated to that stance, but it was more of a community clash. It was 2 communities that were clashing. They had their own interests in their mind, and they were out there gunning for each other. And because both of these communities had their own armed militia, they had their own people with arms, things became so bad.
Problems are there with every state, right? If you look at UP, Bihar, a lot of poverty was there. It's still there in many pockets, and people are not satisfied there also. But I think what separates Northeast is again access to the arms and this kind of training that is present there, right? That people don't want to solve the problems, and they don't want to feel helpless also, but they pick up arms for these things, right? So it's not maybe just about being dissatisfied. They also have access to arms. That is the problem.
Why access to arms? Where is this arms coming from?
Because they use force, right, to demand their rights.
For access to arms, that way, yes, because it is closer to the border, you're saying?
I'm not sure. I mean, you would be having first-hand experience about that. Either they are being supplied by some other country, or they are purchasing it, or they are using...
I won't say it is like that, that they are being supplied by some other country, but yes, they are procuring it, and there are those agencies out there, somebody's secret agency trying to help others. That is going to always be there. And you just buy. I mean, through More, there's so much of weapon supply that is happening, and you got a point there when you say that access to weapons is... But these are much more organized groups, and what makes a difference is these guys can go into Myanmar and regroup there, have their own camps, and come and attack. The same thing was happening in Bangladesh, and it is going to happen again in Bangladesh now with the new government coming up. The entire Ulfa hierarchy was sitting there in Bangladesh and operating in India.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what it was happening. Till the time the Bangladeshi government, initially they were here in lot of them were here in Bhutan. The Bhutan operation sometime around 2004-5, they flushed out everybody. These guys moved on to Bangladesh, and from Bangladesh, the leadership was controlling the entire operations in Assam. And then the Bangladesh crackdown happened, and these guys, most of them shifted to places in Myanmar and all. Though Myanmar also doesn't allow it like that, but then most part of Myanmar is not under their control. It is all under rebel control.
I think in the starting of the movie Uri also the first.
That was my unit that conducted that particular operation.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
We would like to really know about that kind of operation. That was the first thing that really, really gave goosebumps. I mean, the starting of the movie Uri, how the operation happened, and you guys must have.
I wasn't there. I wasn't part of that operation. It was
Okay.
Colonel
But
Nectar
your unit
Sanjan.
was involved.
My
in
unit was there. Colonel Nectar Sanjan Bam, Kirti Chakra. He's got a Kirti Chakra for that. Otherwise, he already had a Shaurya Chakra in operations before that. So brilliantly conducted operations. I mean, these guys were. They had conducted. They had struck one of our convoys of a Dograi unit, and this was a retaliation to that. These guys were out there in the camp, and we knew the general location of the camp, and we went there and raided it.
that. Yeah, it was, I think, no casualty, 100% successful operation. That kind of a thing. It was shown
It's
in the movie.
complete surprise, and yes, everything was absolutely right. And we went inside. We located the camp. It was very difficult for us to locate. Actually, we had no idea. We observed and we saw a road bend till where vehicles were moving. So we had an idea that that is a road bend, and ahead of that there is some camp. We went looking there. We could not see anything, and it was at night. They started firing. We weren't sure. We had to raid in the morning. The times were all fixed, and we had to start. We had to conduct the raid, and we did not know exactly where the camp was. And these guys started firing, and that's where we got an indication. Okay, this is where they are. And then we started moving, and we almost entered the camp. We did not know where the camp was. So this guy just almost entered the camp, and these santris were not very alert. That is where they realized, we heard them first. We came out, we formed up, and then we opened fire and then killed those guys there.
That's great. And the kind of I think influence you are saying that Bangladesh disturbance is going to impact India, and also Myanmar is also there, and some other countries might be used against India. What do you think is the best way to protect us? Is it increasing the forces along these
No, you
borders?
need to strengthen the. You need to strengthen the borders, as you're saying. Yeah, we'll have to use a lot of technology to control. There's going to be a lot of infiltrations from there, and they'll be assisted in all. But it's difficult. It's when you have a neighbor who is not in your own support and who's supporting these guys. It's going to be very difficult. The entire border along Bangladesh now, with the new government coming in, because there's huge influence of ISI, especially it's going to come up now.
Yeah.
So yes, I won't really say you need to increase the forces, but you have to start getting alert. And a lot of Bangladeshis every day they are coming inside to states like Assam and Bengal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know how many of them are going to be informers and stuff like that.
Is it possible to completely secure the borders in terms of infiltrations?
Very difficult.
Very difficult. Smart fences and all the things that government talks about. I think they are implementing that along the Pakistan border also, but it's difficult.
It's very difficult. Of course, I won't say it's not possible. But again, there are going to be gaps, especially along the Bangladesh borders. There's thick fog. There's so much of rain. There's visibility is so poor. There's water along the way. Most of these places are inundated and filled with water most part of the year. So these are challenges. And
I would like to know a little bit about your experience in Para SF and then NSG. How has your experience been in terms of what is the difference? What kind of training difference is there? What kind of operational difference is there?
Special forces is a different ballgame altogether. Special forces is a small group of men. They are they're supposedly the best. They're supposedly the most motivated, who have been chosen amongst the motivated people. It's only the motivated who volunteer, and amongst those, these are the chosen people. They are trained well, they're equipped well, and they are expected to operate in small teams behind the enemy lines. That is what special forces is. Special forces are people who can actually change the outcome of a war. Yeah, so there's a very beautiful operation. In the Second World War, there's a Battle of Britain. That was an air war between the British and the Germans. So that was the time the Germans were the first ones to come up with the radar. The Britishers did not have the radar. They were very close. They were also making the radar. They were very close to making a radar, but they did not actually have the technology. So the intelligence agencies, they found out, every time the British Air Force would reach, the Royal Air Force would reach over Germany, those guys were already alerted. So they became suspicious. There's something wrong. How come they are always aware that we are going to come? So they realized that probably they have already made a radar, and they located the location with the intelligence agencies and all. It was in one of the islands. They launched a special forces operation there. The team went there with their technicians. They picked up parts of the radar that they thought was important and came back, and based on that, they made the radar.
Whoa.
And they were successful. They beat the Germans in this war. So this is what special forces operations are supposed to be. They are a small team of men who are dropped behind the enemy lines, and inside the enemy lines, you are all surrounded by enemy all across, and then you are taking on their radars, you're taking on their bridges, you're maybe taking on their headquarters, trying to assassinate their commanders, you're taking out their nuclear sites, or maybe the missiles from where they are being launched. So that kind of operations, that is what special forces are.
So that is in the time of wars that special forces mostly operate?
Special forces are always preparing for war.
Okay.
Yeah. When it is not war, they're preparing for war.
Okay.
And in this preparation, most of these times we go out seeking combat, or we go out seeking contact, and that is where we are employed wherever there is some kind of insurgency. Maybe it's the valley, or it's in the northeast, wherever there is insurgency left, and that's where we go, and we keep ourselves engaged so that we are experienced to bullets flying. Yeah, because first time you go into contact and there are people, again, as I was saying, there's somebody aiming and trying to kill you, and you'll be completely lost. You won't know how to respond to it. And you don't want to do that in case of a war, right? You want to have experienced that and then got out out of that thing. So for that, you need to be in contact, and that is why in peacetime, generally all the special forces are employed or deployed in CI operations. So that is what is the role of special forces. Now, in case there is an attack like the 26/11 attack in the Mumbai, the Taj or Oberoi, some kind of attack happens. So where are the special forces? The special forces are already deployed somewhere, maybe in Jammu and Kashmir or Srinagar or Northeast. They're committed. They're not sitting there waiting for an... So NSG is a force that is always sitting there and waiting for a terrorist to attack. So whenever there's an attack anywhere, these guys are always ready and always out there just waiting for something to happen, and they're the first ones to board. And they're already aircraft on standby, waiting there. There's specified routes for these guys, specified gates for them, and just go there, mount on the aircraft, everything is loaded and ready, and just take off.
So I think, coming back again to some of the training part for it, I understand that a lot of preparedness and operational efficiencies are required for such a short notice kind of a...
For everyone, even for the special forces, for the energy, their roles are different, but then huge amount of preparation and...
Would you like to elaborate a little bit on the training part?
Yeah, so for the special forces, there's a probation. The probation in our times was for 6 months, and now it's close to about 3 months. And after this 3 months, you still you go out on operations and stuff like that. So the first thing is they try and break you. Yeah, they're looking for those who have got motivated seeing Hrithik Roshan and stuff like that, and they want to come with the swag. Yeah, so it's not very glamorous out there, and they roger you. They take out everything that is in you. They put you into a lot of pressure that's right from your physicals. You don't get to sleep for good. About these 3 months, I wouldn't have slept for more than 2.5 or 3 hours at max at a stretch. That is how it is. Long marches, long runs, and at night you are given number of assignments. You have to do some kind of a book review, some kind of a project writings. You have to make plans, and then you are out mostly in the jungles. Yeah, then there are odd errands like catch a snake and stuff like that. Yeah, making booby traps and whatever. And so this is the main is the selection part of it, where they put you under pressure and try and select who are these guys who are going to actually last, and who are these guys who won't who will be able to overcome panic when they are faced under that kind of a situation across or behind the boundaries, behind the borders in enemy territory. Yeah. So once they have generally identified, okay, these are the guys who will probably withstand, then they teach you. There's so much to learn actually, right from a tactics part of it, how you can stay concealed in a small team, how the drones will detect you, how you have to not to be detected, and how do you have to move in jungles, how do you have to demolish things if you have to. You demolishes like huge explosives and destroy. Yeah, how do you have to communicate, how do you have to look after. Medical is a very important part. Yeah, different type of weapons. And then there are incessant techniques. There's skydiving, there's diving, there's mountaineering. You have to slither down from helicopters. So it's all about learning, and you keep learning. They keep teaching you everything, and learning all this when you are deprived of sleep and 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 after those long runs and all, it's little difficult.
Yeah.
So that's how special forces probation is all about. And just a handful get selected out of the many that opt for it. And similar is the energy selection. It's just the energy selection. It is again, energy is a volunteer force where everybody from energy is a deputation force, where you could be from the special forces, you could be from the armored, you could be from anybody else, anywhere else. You not armored only officers go, and it is generally jawans of infantry. They opt for energy, and then they go and serve for about 3 years. So there again, the similar training is there. The role of energy is more of urban warfare, where you have to actually do room intervention, house intervention, and stuff like that. So you're more trained into these kind of skills, where you have to break through walls and enter. You have to maybe jump off buildings and use those rope techniques and all. So that is what energy probation is all about.
Do we train with the other countries' special forces also?
Yeah. That's a very good part of it, and you learn a lot from those. And they also end up learning a lot from our experiences. I have had a experience of having a joint training with the Mongolians. They were again very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of technology and gears that we have, how do we stand compared to the world powers?
Very average. There's a lot we can do, and we are working in that field. Yes, we are working in that. I mean, India is emerging as the brain behind so much of technology, and we are very quick to adopt technology. But it's a huge country. It takes little time, and the technology, you cannot just buy off the shelf technology and depend on it for your wars. You have to develop it. You have to keep it. It has to be in house. So that is what takes time. So it's not just the army. The entire environment has to be supportive of making that available to you here when you want it. That kind of infrastructure has to be there. Otherwise, you just buy something off the shelf and you think you're hell of a strong guy. It doesn't work out like that.
I mean, after going through so extreme training, having the best, I think, available gears and everything, still, what is the most difficult challenge that you have faced during any of your important operation?
I'll tell you the challenge that we have faced. One of the worst challenges that we faced. Manipur was a bad place. Sometime around 2004. Before that, there's a valley, which is roughly about 20 odd percent. I could be wrong. 20% of the main stretch of Manipur. It's surrounded by hills all over. The hills are dominated by the Nagas to the north and Kukis to the south. And the main valley is generally the Meiteis. They're the non-tribals. And the valley was, apart from the valley, all the hills were under, most of it were under the Militant control. The last areas of this was called liberated zone. It has been liberated from India. That is how it was. And sometime around 2004, the army was deployed. Before that, it was a CPO sector, that is Central Police Organization sector. And once we moved in, we cleared these areas and then we brought in the authorities and handed them over to police and all. There were no police outposts, there were no police control, nothing in those hills. It was completely, the militants were running recruitment rallies, they were running these medical camps, and they were running their own buses. They were giving tickets and stuff like that. Can you imagine that?
Okay.
That is how the
It's like a different country altogether.
Yes. It was completely parallel government that was being run there, and so we controlled that area, and we launched number of massive operations. It carried on for about 7-8 years. Different operations, one after the other. We lost a lot of guys. We had a lot of casualties again, and so this was one of the last stretches where we were going to destroy, or we were going to take over one of the major camps, the last one that was like standing, and that was completely at the corner of where the Myanmar border was, and I was there in that operation. So the worst part of this operation was, now if you have heard me again in any of my podcasts or something, these militants, they are using IEDs extensively. Yeah, it's very simple improvised explosive device. IED is improvised explosive device. A small piece of bamboo or a twig like this, they would fold it, two pieces of metal connected with a battery, little explosive with a detonator. Anybody steps on it, the circuits completes and just blow up.
Okay.
That kind of simple device, and they had placed it everywhere. Huge. Matlab, the area where I'm talking about, there were more than thousands and thousands of IEDs everywhere. So now the challenge was, we had taken over, this operation was in phases. It was in 3 phases, let's say. First phase, we went and took over till here. The second phase, we extended till there. And the third phase had to happen, where we had to target the main camp. So these guys already know that the army is going to come like this.
Yeah.
This is the place. They already had time to prepare. You see, when you have time to prepare and you know that the enemy is expecting you, that is a big challenge to operate, especially for special forces, that we don't want to get into casualties. And when people are expecting, they're looking out for you. They had laid IEDs. This particular camp that we went, every door, every window, everywhere, every gate, there's a fence outside the house. Every gate they had IEDs. So what kind of technology can you actually use to help you with this? You don't. The man has to go there, walk that mile, and go and open that gate and see inside. Yeah.
So are there any hand-to-hand fights also that happen in these kind of operations like we saw in movies?
I have been part of a hand-to-hand fight. That is very rare, and it generally should not, and it generally does not. One or occasions, yes, there have been occasions where it's like there's somebody unarmed and he's trying to escape. You have to go and catch him. We don't want to shoot him because he's not armed. So what do? In one of the operations I saw, we were operating with the police, and there were about 8 policemen trying to catch on to one guy. And this guy was fighting all over, and there were 8 guys trying to hold him. Then that guy was good. So all they wanted is one SF guy would just go and hold him, and yeah. But then, so that is why you need to be trained on unarmed combat as well. It's not, you'd avoid. I somehow, I don't want to discuss that particular operation where
Okay, sure.
I was unfortunate to have got into that kind of shit, but then it did happen. And you need to overpower somebody, so you need to be good that way. You don't want 8 people to be struggling with one guy, and then somebody else comes from somewhere else and just fires 2 shots and 2 of your guys are down. So
I mean, in these extreme conditions and the locations that are there deep inside the jungles and all, what is the survival instinct that is there, and what kind of food and everything that you guys get there? I mean, is it do you carry a lot of stuff with you, because there would be very harsh conditions also, and unpredictability would be there? So how is that managed?
You carry everything. You carry. You're not dependent on the jungle for anything. Just in case, we are taught about survival and all. We are taught about all that. That is only for an emergency where you had probably planned for 8 days and it has got extended to 15 days, 20 days. There's no resupply also coming. Then you may have to be dependent on the jungle to get something. Otherwise, you just avoid. You're not dependent, or you're not banking on resources from the jungle for survival. No way. That is why our loads are very heavy. You carry everything with you.
For how many days?
It depends.
Depends on the operation.
It completely depends. I should not be commenting on anything on that part. But yes, what is given in the books is Second World War, when the concept of special forces was being raised. That is the time the Gurkha units were already operating for about 8 days.
Okay.
I'm just quoting from a book. I'm not giving out any exact. And then they wanted forces to operate for about 14 days. That is why they raised a special force.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is how it is. So
what I've heard also is about a tradition that special forces people eat their glasses. So can you elaborate a bit on that?
it's not just special forces. Okay, now everybody is just special forces. Otherwise, this was the tradition of the parachute regiment, the para brigade.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to commit too much onto this because you don't know. There's somebody listening to me and he tries to he wishes to try that at home. No, not to be done without supervision. Yeah, there's a way to do things, and people have done it, and yeah, it can be done. But then I'll just not advise anybody to try that.
Got it.
Yeah. It'd be very bad of me to have.
You have also worked as an undercover agent, right? So what is an undercover agent and how does that work?
Not really. Not an undercover agent. That term is used most for maybe James Bond or stuff like that. Though people did call me James Bond in my unit also. But no, that is more for intelligence agencies and stuff like that. I have, in some manner, I have had that kind of an exposure. There were two situations. One was there was some areas in the islands where there was a particular community staying there, and these were being targeted by by a militant organization. You seeing that? It's a militant organization, and they are targeting a community, and these communities, number of them are staying in those small islands along in rivers. There's so many islands. I mean, all the rivers you see, there are islands inside. People don't even get to know that there are islands, and so we had just been mobilized into an area, and I had gone to the police station just to say hello to the police guys, and also that if there is some information, that's how we start. In case there is some information, we share, and he just gives us the intelligence brief. So when I was sitting there, the guy next to me, he was actually pleading. He was part of that community, and he was requesting, "Sir, my complete family is there, my children are there, everybody is there in that, and there is no police outposts. If 4 guys come up with weapons, and they ask us to line up and they shoot off all of us, it will take you 6 hours to reach. How will you protect us? At least place somebody with us. Have somebody, we will look after them." So that was their request, and the police doesn't have so much of men. So, and these guys didn't know who am I. So I waited outside, I waited for him, I spoke to him, and we made a plan, and I went there as a poultry farm or something, stayed there in those villages for good some time. And we waited all the time. We were waiting. We were looking at different places where we see any terrorist who comes and attacks. So that was to help that community, right? So similar things, a lot of times we have been able to, doing. I was very brash. I have sat behind some surrendered militant and gone away and gone, and I met somebody, shook hands with him. Then I realized this guy's a militant actually.
Oh.
Yeah, he was carrying a weapon also. And I didn't know. He was all covered up in shawl and he appeared to be absolutely normal. So, normal as in somebody just couldn't make out. So, Then there was another one where I had to act like a militant.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a very
that is, I
interesting.
think, more than an undercover agent.
Yeah, there was a different idea. It was not to go and kill militants. There was some different strategy being played. Being played. I should not go too much into detail about that. But yes, something very interesting happened which I really liked or I really enjoyed was there we had a militant who had not yet surrendered, but he was helping us. So with him, we were staying as militant, like he was the commander. He was a commander, and we were staying around with him. And everybody knew us as militants. Wherever we went, we would go there, and we was completely his men. And we had to reach out to another militant commander. So he tied up a meeting and all. We went. It's completely dark night. Through one campus, we went to another house, third, fourth, fifth. I mean, there's no way I could have found that place, even if I had information that so such and such is there in that particular house. Just no way. Okay, we went there. This guy goes inside. We are just about four of us outside, and this guy goes inside. They have discussion for some time, and then he calls me. You come inside without weapon. Seeing those guys are out there with arms, sitting inside, and he's calling me without weapon. You don't know how he's going to respond. He's a militant out there. There have been occasions where militants have taken you hostage and tried to escape. You don't know how he's going to respond.
Yeah.
It's his life.
Yeah.
It's his life at stake. Why will he trust somebody else? So that was pretty challenging. Again, undertaking that kind of an operation. But yeah, I've been lucky.
So very
Quite a few
layman question
times.
I have on this. So yeah, acting as a militant, let's say, or a person in disguise. So what is the acting part of it? How do you learn that? You have to act, right? That you are somebody else. You are not a military guy, and I think your movements and everything has to change according to the situation also. So how is that managed? Is that part of a training?
You have to train yourself for that. It's not part of the normal training, but you have to train yourself part of it. And I won't say it is acting. It is living that life. Living that life, entirely that life. The language, right from the language, the know-how, everything. You have to know their hierarchy. You have to know the villagers. You have to have a complete cover plan, cover story. Where have you come? Where are your parents? How have you come? How have you been brought up? Everything. It's a lot of detail and I mean there's so many books also.
I only watch the movies. How interesting it
Yeah,
is.
there's so many books where you can actually read and learn about these. We've also read books and learned about these things because this is not your normal. This is not what actually a normal special forces guy would. But then we become adventurous. We try and go that little extra and do something different, and not just different, something additional, so that you can probably be successful sometime. Yeah, it's a cat and mouse game.
And even after such kind of a training experience, battle hardened processes, is there still a factor of fear when going on such an operation where you are dealing with the militant or staying in their community and interacting with them? Is there still a iota of any fear that is there?
Always there. I think fear is always a very important driving factor. It is always there. All operations, it is there. Every time you're walking in those lanes, those jungles, every turn you're expecting somebody to open up with all his RPGs and Lathors and stuff like that. Every turn there's fear. Every time you're jumping out of a absolutely functional, serviceable aircraft with a parachute, every time fear is there. Every time there's a burst, somebody has opened fire, fear is there. Every operation, fear is there. Every time a Jawan or anybody, there's this door, behind there's a militant, like 2611. Every time you open a door and enter, there's fear. Fear is very much there. Getting over that fear is important. Getting over that fear helps you not to make mistake, to avoid mistakes. So personally, I would say fear has never stopped me from going ahead or from working. Every time, if right from NDA, you stand on that 10-meter board and you have to jump from there. In our swimming pool, there's a test where you have to go on to a diving board from 10 meters and jump. Every time you're standing on a 10-meter board, the fear is there. But you can't let the world see that fear, especially as an officer, as a leader. You cannot let everybody around you, the same thing I was talking about my childhood also. You cannot let anybody else see that fear in you, that this guy is scared or his legs are shaky or he's unable to give a decision. You have to be the first one to walk.
What is the mindset? I mean, it's really interesting to know, first of all. I mean, people in general life also not being in the forces, they also have a lot of fear of failure. And I think very small compared to what the special forces or NSG commandos face. But how do you describe your mindset in dealing with this kind of fear?
I've never described, I've never tried to do that. But yes, I admit that I feel scared. I admit now I'm not that kid of 4 years old who would not admit. I admit I've been scared. I admit, but that is what makes me careful. I got shot when I did not have 6 months of service. My first 6 months of service, I had a gunshot wound. The bullet went right from here and exited from here. I was brash. I was careless. I was not thinking. I was an idiot. So I took my lessons, and since then I have been afraid. I have been, and touch wood, I've never lost a man in combat. And even one of those operations that I was telling you about, we went in thousands, more than 2,000 IED. I must say, every door there was an IED. No, without one casualty, we just came back. Every unit that was even behind, they were protecting, or they were along the line of communication, they was behind protecting the roads and all. Every unit had at least 3 to 4 casualties. Somebody going around to for the nature's call, and he just blows up his leg. But ours, we went right inside and we came back. So I'd say we are afraid, but that's what makes us take the right decisions and make a plan so that you can protect your men.
You got it. And in these kind of operations, do the families somehow have a hint that you're going to stay with some community or militants for some time, and they don't even know whether you'll come back or no? Are they completely confidential, or do you involve the family also?
If you involve the family, you cannot execute such an operation. The lesser they know, the better it is. You don't have anybody else to know, because and family, we are not interacting like that. No way. They don't get involved with our operations. And if a special forces operative starts telling his family what he's going to do or what he's going to how he's going to operate, he'll have a divorce before he goes out on an operation. Yeah.
So I would like to ask, any kind of terrorist encounter that you have seen, and any element of surprise that you have felt surprised in that attack?
See, all operations, they don't happen the way you want them to happen. Yeah, a lot of times you plan for something else and something else happens with you. I mean, I can think of one operation where I was completely surprised. In fact, two. One was, this is the 26th of January, and I was deployed somewhere. And I was in another company, infantry battalion's company, and this guy gets a call, and the company commander wasn't there. I received the call, and he gets somebody in a panic mode that there are 2 gunmen and they are firing people here. Just rush, come here. And I pick up everything and we just move. And then something strikes me, it's not normal. As special forces, when we go out, nobody knows where we are going out, how we are going out, which route we are going to take. But now everybody knows. There's somebody else. I don't know who is he. Can I trust him? Somehow it just struck me, and there was a bridge ahead. And we are just going. I said, wait, let's just check. So there was nothing. Again we went. Sometime ahead there was another bridge. We stopped and there was an IED there.
Whoa.
And there was no terrorist action that was happening. It was a trap. Very lucky. But I don't know how it... You see, because you are going against your own principles. The principle was nobody should know where you're going, which route you're going. You have to have an advantage. The advantage you have is when nobody else knows where you're going, how you're going to operate. So that was some place I was really surprised. There was another one, we had gone and inside in some interiors. I was telling you about those. Okay, we were in the interiors, and we were there for good some time, and there was nothing. We did not get any success, and I'll not go into the exact dates or days or something, but after a significant period of time, I had a source, civilian. So this guy had dengue or malaria, one of these. So he was down with heavy fever. I said, "You go." So everybody wanted us to go. I said, "No, no, you let him go." So I sent him back. He was in civil dress. We were all in civil dress, hiding somewhere. I said, "You go." So he went. When he went and stayed for the night with a friend. And the friends told us that there's militants in that area. Some area, he said, and not very far from where, just about 12 odd kilometers. So we moved at night. So when we moved, we came across a small hutment. Early morning, came across a small hutment. So we were just about 6 of us. I was 2 here with me, one guy, 2 to one side, 2 to one side, so that the entire area is covered. And the idea was, it was plain. It was not hills. Hills you can observe from a distance. It was plain. So we observed. We did not see anything. No movement, because if there's a militant, you'll see some activity and you'll probably get to know. So we did not see anything. So I said, okay, let's move on to the next. My idea was, we'll go around and then see. Just faint, somebody had just said there is no militant. There was nothing. So as we were moving out, there was one police guy with us. And I mean, I can sympathize with that guy, because he was caught between the special forces. Yeah, he had to live a life like us. So this guy stopped and he asked for water. So when he asked for water, I really lost my cool. I said, damn, what a guy, yaar. We've been hiding here for so many days. Nobody knows us. And now you have exposed yourself. Asking for water is like somebody's already seen you. So I thought its operation is over. Now somebody has seen us. They know that we guys are here. But then again, I thought maybe not necessarily everybody is a militant or a militant informer. No, so let's just walk on to the next cluster and we'll see. We'll just maybe talk to someone and we'll try and find out if they have seen. Maybe somebody can give us a lead that, okay, why don't you go there, and we've just seen. So we were going to the next cluster with the intention of going and talking to them, now realizing that probably people are already aware that we are here. And as we were going, there's a small hut, and there were guys sitting inside. And that guy just turns, and we were all out in the open, and not even 15 meters, 10 to 15 meters. This guy just turns, and with the AK, and we were all standing in the open, and of course we immediately respond, and we become successful also. We did get success also. So this is something again where I was completely surprised, and otherwise most of the places we don't get surprised, we surprise the enemy.
Yeah. What would be the number of bullets that you have seen directly coming at you? One was you were shot in the leg.
You don't see bullets coming. I mean, they are too fast. Trust me. You don't see them coming. Maximum you hear that pit, 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 pit. That's how you hear when a bullet is flying somewhere from across. Yeah, you don't see them coming.
And I think after every operation, you would be really thankful that you were able to surprise the enemy and be at an advantageous position.
Yeah.
Because everything is so unpredictable.
Very unpredictable. I mean, we ourselves become so damn unpredictable. There have been times when there's some firefight happening at one corner of a football ground. I'm running in crazy times. And
looking at the terrorist operations that happen in the country, right? Given the kind of enemies we have, and also the internal, I think some people are there who are not completely there for the country. If 26/11 happens again, right? What kind of preparedness do we have, and how far have we come from the earlier attacks that happened a lot?
You see, we are very well prepared. things have always been improving. It's improving, but it's improving for both. The technology is changing. The militants are also becoming more aware. Yeah, so the next attack, the biggest mistake that we make is to think the next attack is going to be same as the previous one. World is going to a different place altogether. You don't know what the next attack is going to be.
Are we well placed in terms of technology procurement?
We are well placed, yet it can't be ruled out. If there's an attack, we will lose a few guys. It's very difficult. In an operation, we have to be correct 100 times. This is a famous dialogue also in some movie, I think. Yeah, you have to do all 100 things right to be successful. For him, he just has to be lucky once. And it's a huge country. I mean, there is scope, and but we are very well placed, and NSG is always on alert, and they have got their drills the entire day. What NSG does 18 hours a day, it's practicing and training. Not just, it is always surprise into moving and mobilizing. And there are times it is told, okay, now we have exercise in Guwahati, move to Guwahati. Now we have exercise in Hyderabad, move to Hyderabad. How fast do you reach Hyderabad? Yeah, so this is part of the training. This is part of how somebody mobilizes, and you're just surprised quite often, and you move. And you move and go and conduct an exercise, and you come back. So that's how it is.
In Mumbai attack, one of the problem was that it took some time for NSG to go there.
It can't take NSG time. There are other factors that get involved. NSG doesn't take time. NSG has got nothing else to do rather than just move. Yeah, NSG has got nothing else to do. NSG, there's no way. Yeah. There's so many other factors. There are so many other things that happen. Finally, when it comes out in the news, you'll hear that NSG is not reached. But the fault may not be of NSG, no?
Got it. Many factors are in.
There are other factors.
And everything.
Yeah, so I'll not point fingers at anybody, but NSG doesn't get late. NSG cannot get late. NSG is sitting damn at the airport, yeah. Doesn't have to come from anywhere. You just have to go pick up a bag, and the bag is also packed. Your ammunition is packed. Your weapons are ready. Everything is done. You fight in the morning. Not today morning, yesterday evening you fight.
So is it true that the bags are always packed?
Oh yes, bags are packed the whole day. You are just on alert and waiting for the attack. So, and it's been like this.
So what has changed after 26/11?
After 26/11, a lot of new hubs have come up. The response capabilities have increased, because otherwise we were moving from Manesar and from Delhi, and now we have got regional hubs at a number of other places, and those guys are as capable, and in most of these metros, anything happens within helicopter flying reach, they can just mobilize by helicopters and reach and neutralize a target.
And I think there are two units of NSG. One is 51 and 52, and you are a part of
52. I used to be.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the distinction between these two?
So these are the main special action groups. NSG has got three types of people. Special action group, that is 51 and 52. There's a special composite group, which is a mix of special action groups are only from the army. Special composite group is a mix from the army and the CRPF, BSF, rather the CAPFs. And then there's a special ranger group, SRGs. So SRGs, the role is slightly different. They used to be for VIP security as well as counter-terrorist. There's a little difference. And VIP security, I think it had to stop. I don't know exactly if it has stopped or not, but we're trying to detach ourselves from VIP security. The special composite groups are the ones that is already deployed in, let's say, in Hyderabad, in Chennai, in Mumbai, in Kolkata, in Gandhinagar. So these are the regional hubs, and NSG is deployed there. Those are special composite groups. Other than that, those guys have got their own areas. That's where they're going to operate. Of course, NSG can go and operate anywhere else. If there's if there's a strike in Pathankot and 51 moves from here, you may ask the even Mumbai hub sitting there, doing nothing. They can also mobilize. Nothing is stopping. So these are all mechanics. But otherwise, they have got their own areas. And 51 and 52 doesn't have an area. It's pan India. It can just go and operate anywhere. 51 is more biased towards counter-terrorist operations like the 26/11 attacks, and 52 is more biased towards aviation security. That is for hijacks. It could be a counter-hijack. It could be for sky marshal operations.
So what I understand is that hijacking, anti-hijacking are the most critical of the operations that are there, right? I was having a word with a Navy veteran, and he mentioned that the only thing that is more complicated than even sea diving maneuvers is anti-hijacking operations, right? So, and we have
And
seen
I have had the honor of commanding that unit.
So would you like to elaborate a little bit on that? I was reading that in 1970s a lot of hijacking happened in India. 1980s it happened. 1990s it happened. We know about Kandahar, right? We had to leave some criminal the terrorists also. So would you like to elaborate a little bit on that? How is it done? What is the preparedness level of anti-hijacking? What things have changed so that hijacking doesn't happen anymore?
Yeah, counter-hijack operation, I'm not going to talk about that. But yes, if you're asking how counter-hijack is such a delicate operation and more delicate than even diving, what is that? Anti-diving, diving,
Diving and submarine warfare.
submarine warfare and things. It's yes, because an aircraft is a very delicate thing. If you check out, there was a hijack. I'll give you 2-3 examples. There was a hijack sometime around 85, 86. And this aircraft, if I'm not mistaken, it had landed in Cairo. Not Cairo, somewhere else. It was flying to Cairo. And the Egyptian Special Forces, there's an Egyptian Special Forces by the name of Unit 777, that conducted that operation. The aircraft had landed and it was a botched up operation. The guys were not trained. It was not well conducted. More than 55 people out of 85 people died.
Oh.
55 out of 85 people. They used explosives where the explosives should not have been used. They did not know. Lot of smoke, and it's about 100 people caught up in an area where there's smoke. Everybody rushes out. It's not easy to jump or come down from an aircraft. That aircraft is a very low aircraft. That was a 737 Boeing, if I'm not mistaken. That is one of the lowest aircrafts. The Airbuses are much higher. The wide-bodied aircrafts are even more higher. Somebody from a wide-bodied aircraft will jump off and come down. It's very difficult. Not many people will be able to do that. Yeah, in that, if things are not handled well, if you are not practiced, if you're not trained, 2 grenades goes off, the entire aircraft can go. And that's what happened in this particular operation. You look at Nirja Bhanot case. That was a Pan Am aircraft which was flying, if I'm not mistaken, from Mumbai, and it had landed in Karachi. And that is where this operation had happened. And these guys, they just entered, and the pilot escaped. And they were negotiating for a pilot to come, and then they started killing, and that is when the Pakistani forces, they conducted the counter-hijack operation, and it was a completely botched up again. More than 20 people died in that operation.
Okay.
It's a very delicate kind of an operation. Yep. I'll give you another example that shows how delicate it is. The GIGN, that is the German Special Forces. The GIGN is the French Special Forces. GSG-9 is the German Special Forces. I'm talking about GIGN, the French. In Marseille, they conducted you can see it on Google also, counter-hijack operation. So this particular aircraft had landed in Marseille, and it was Airbus 300. And the GIGN, they had practiced on the same aircraft. They asked for a Airbus 300. They were practicing live practice on that. They were all set, and they were said, okay, go ahead and conduct the operation. When they conducted the operation, there was a small mistake, miscalculation. Where they were practicing that aircraft, there was no passenger sitting inside. And here there were about 200 to 300 people sitting inside. So the level of the aircraft was this much lower, only this much. So when they placed the step ladder, the aircraft was lower, the door wouldn't open. And these guys got stuck. There's a very famous video when you look at YouTube. These guys are struggling with the door. And just about 4 or 5 seconds, these guys are struggling with the door and trying to open. Somebody from the cockpit, they open fire. These guys throw grenade. So what happens when these guys were struggling, all the hijackers, they enter the cockpit. And there's heavy chaos, and they're unable to enter, and then there's firefight happening. Counter-hijack operation should happen like this. Before somebody realizes got a grenade, and before it should be all finished. That is how our operations were. There was an Operation Ashwamedh 93 in Chandigarh, if I'm not mistaken. Chandigarh or Amritsar, I'm getting confused. Very bad of me. Where there was one hijacker and Indian aircraft, and my unit operated. And before he could say something, I mean, before he realized he had 2 pistols. And he was in the cockpit, and we launched the operation. Before he could say anything, he was dead. So, I think the Prime Minister asked the GC-52 then कि आपने मेरे से परमिशन पूछा ऑपरेशन के लिए, और मैंने जब ऑपरेशन करो बोला, वो 15 सेकंड के अंदर तो आपने वापस रिपोर्ट दे दिया कि ऑपरेशन खत्म हो गया. बोलता हाँ सर, ऐसे ही होता है. बोलता क्या बात करते हो आप? बोलता यस सर, दिस इज हाउ इट इज. एंड वी हैड टू गिव अ डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन कि सर व्हेन आई आस्क्ड फॉर परमिशन, दिस इज वेयर वी वर, एंड व्हेन वी सेड ओके, एंड देन ठक, and these guys were sitting inside and they were looking out and they could not see anything, and operation khatam. So the same thing about the GIGN operation that I was trying to, this much of a miscalculation can cause the entire operation to go. That operation was a success, but there were about 9 of GIGN guys who got injured in that particular operation. So I don't call it much of a success, though. It's as long as we've been able to neutralize all the hijackers, it's success in a form. But I wouldn't want my operation to go that way. Yeah. So that is why counter-hijack operation is very sensitive, very delicate, and you need to be very careful. Anything can go wrong out there, especially if somebody's got an explosive, somebody's got a grenade inside. Things can get out of control.
So how secure can we feel if we are going on a flight? Are we very safe now in terms of all the planning that NSG-52 has done, and the fear that terrorists might be having to do this kind of activity again in India?
Yeah, I think you are fairly very safe, and these guys are doing a fantastic job. But times are always changing. Again, keep going back to the same thing. It's a cat and the mouse. It's going to a different dimension altogether. If you read recently in this year itself, sometime around July 29th or sometime, an entire aircraft from Boston to Houston or somewhere, it had to be diverted. Everybody in the aircraft fell sick. Everybody was vomiting. What happened? What was it? Can it be a biological agent? I don't know. How come everybody in the aircraft starts vomiting and starts doing this? क्या है?
Biological warfare?
You never know. How come एक aircraft के अंदर everybody starts vomiting? There are about 150 odd passengers and the crew. Everybody starts vomiting inside an aircraft. Is somebody experimenting with something? And that also in a place like United States. 2017, there were 2 guys caught in Sydney airport. They were experimenting. They were trying to use chemical, I think something like hydrogen sulfide or something. They were trying to explore with chemical weapons on an aircraft. So आप समझ रहे हैं? Your question about being safe and all. Things are taking a new dimension. जैसे अभी तक होता है, the same thing that I was trying to tell you sometime back. The biggest folly we have is we think the next war is going to be the same as the last one. The next one is going to be way ahead. आप जब तक आगे plan नहीं कर रहे हैं. So that's how it is. So things are different dimension. But yes, a normal hijack or something, yeah, is good. I'm sure. I mean, CISF is very prepared. It's not that easy, but we have to be 2 steps ahead of the perpetrators. Yeah. And जो मैं आपको कह रहा हूँ, ये example, ये जो chemical वाला है, this is 2017. It is very interesting how that guy got caught. उसको नहीं पता था. It is somebody else trying to use him to deliver, and उसका luggage में ना weight ज़्यादा हो गया. And this was in a meat grinder. Okay. तो जिस बैग में उसका मीट ग्राइंडर था, ही डिसाइडेड कि इसी को मैं फेंक देता हूँ. तो उसको नहीं पता था कि इसके अंदर तो एक्सप्लोसिव है, इसके अंदर ये उसने लेकर के जाना है एज पर द इंस्ट्रक्शंस. सो ही हैड लेफ्ट दैट, एंड देन दैट इज हाउ ही वाज कॉट, एंड ही वाज ऑल कनेक्टेड टू द ISIS or one of the terrorist groups. I'm forgetting that. Yeah, so that's how it is.
That's very dangerous. I mean, if chemicals and all these weapons are also introduced in these kind of situations, and do we plan for these also as part of the NSG? Okay,
Yes.
we do. Okay, I think a lot of things that I am asking as a layman are secretive, right? You cannot reveal a lot, but it gives me a little relief.
No, all I'm trying to say is be confident. Nothing is going to happen to you. अगर होता भी है तो पूजा पाठ में विश्वास रखिए. या क्या करते हैं क्या नहीं करते हैं. I should not be going too much into detail, but
that's very interesting.
But
to know and everything.
yeah, but if a terrorist can do something of that kind, and we don't look at countering it, तो it is incomplete ना. आपको पता है और आप कुछ कर नहीं रहे, ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? हो सकता है. तो अगर टेररिस्ट कर रहे हैं तो हम भी कुछ कर रहे हैं. मतलब we are also doing something.
And there was a recent bill on anti-hijacking in 2016. What are the changes? I mean, that were introduced then.
I'll have to exactly go through the document. उसमें मोटा जो मुझे बहुत broadly याद है, there was something to do with the aircraft का मतलब वो करना कि aircraft in service के definition के ऊपर कुछ था. Aircraft in service का पहले जो होता था, it is something like when the door is closed till people have dismounted. तो उसमें डोर बंद होने के बाद मतलब once you board an aircraft, the doors are closed, you reach your destination, आप लोग सब उतर जाते हैं, तब के बीच में the aircraft is in service. उसके अलावा aircraft in service नहीं माना जाता था as per the aircraft hijack definition. So इसमें जो मैं आपको I was telling you about the Pan Am नीरजा भनोट वाला, तो that would not fall into a classical example because उसमें the doors were not closed yet. Doors were open. वो उनका सर्विस चल रहा था जब कराची के अंदर these guys just entered by Maruti van or something, and these guys just came firing weapons and all, and they entered. Yeah, तो इसमें क्या कर दिया इन्होंने कि अभी डोर क्लोज हो ना हो doesn't matter. Aircraft is in service and it is very much a hijack. Second, इसमें एक और चीज़ किया कि अभी with the technology, I don't want to get too much into that, but yeah, with the technology there can be पहले you could just give a bomb scare. You may not be inside the aircraft. आप यहाँ से फ़ोन करके बोलते हैं कि एयरक्राफ्ट नंबर सो एंड सो पे बॉम्ब रखा है मैंने, इट इज़ अ हाईजैक, मेरे को पैसे दो. तो पहले यू कुड हैव गॉट अवे विथ इट क्योंकि आपने एक्चुअल बॉम्ब तो रखा नहीं है, आप एयरक्राफ्ट के अंदर भी नहीं है. बट नाउ यू कैन नॉट गेट अवे विथ इट. अभी by doing this, by trying anything to do with cyber crime से लेकर के even hoax call and all, it is very much punishable.
Okay.
And the third thing, it is they have introduced third और एक भी चीज़ है. Third thing is it has to do with punishable by death. In case आपके ये सब करने से आपने hoax call दिया, कोई भागने की कोशिश की, somebody tried to run away, he got injured and he died, you can be punishable by death.
Okay.
For anything that happens because of your hoax call or whatever, for whatever you've tried, and you could be punishable by death. And there was one more thing which I'm missing out. It has to do with the aircraft may not be in India, but if it is registered in India, India has got the jurisdiction to pass a judgment or act on it. Yes. So these are basic. कमांडो के लिए ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता. When we are told to go in, we'll go in, यार. Yeah. So
and you also hear that in some of the international flights, it's a regular practice that some of the commandos would be there disguised as citizens.
It's called the Sky Marshals, and it is shown in that movie as Yodha. आपने देखा होगा. Yeah, so that's again a different kind of an operation, a fantastic kind of an operation where most of the very selected guys, the best of the reflexes and people who can even fight without weapons, they are placed.
So they are placed there on a routine basis?
Very routine.
Very routine. If an attack happens, the commando is already there.
It will happen. And okay, my for whoever is watching, don't be dependent on any commando or anything. If something of that kind happens, I've been telling people there have been good about 17 on hijacks after 9/11. After 9/11 happened, the entire aviation industry has become so damn secured. So many measures have been taken, yet there have been about 17 odd hijacks. Out of these 17 hijacks, I could be wrong, but good about 13 to 14 hijacks, the passengers and the crew, they have been able to overpower the hijackers and get the situation under control. Good about 13 to 14 out of the 17. You see my point? My point is, if something of this kind happens, in all likelihood, today's hijacker may not be very well armed. It could be most of it as a scare. Yeah, so don't wait for anybody. You must respond, and it is not difficult. Even if somebody is armed, he is carrying a pistol. या आपके पास पिस्टल है, आप स्ट्रॉन्ग कब हैं? आपके पास अगर पिस्टल है, आप मेरे से 5 मीटर दूर खड़े हैं, तो आप शायद कुछ कर सकते हैं. If you're close to me, I can hit you. So what will you do with a pistol?
Yeah.
समझ रहे हैं? तो एयरक्राफ्ट के अंदर तो that guy, stupid guy is already standing there. आपके साथ, you just wait for him to come close to you. पकड़ो उसको, लगाओ. ठीक है, so don't be dependent on somebody else कि स्काई मार्शल होगा नहीं होगा. काउंटर हाईजैक 52 SAG आएगी. कर्नल कश्यप ने बोला था ये आएंगे. इंतजार मत करो. हाँ, तुम्हारा जिंदगी एक है, निपटाओ उसको पकड़ के.
It's the responsibility of everybody.
या
Because on the charge.
ये वो तब की कहावत है ना कि वो मुट्ठी भर ब्रिटिशर्स ने आकर के कब्जा कर दिया, आपने कुछ किया नहीं. तो डोंट लेट इट हैपन अगेन. सम गाय जस्ट बड़ी ट्राई समथिंग, वो बॉडी बनाओ, पकड़ के 2 थप्पड़ मारो वहीं पे. हाँ, दो के साथ प्लान बना लो. एक लटक जाओ उसके हाथ के ऊपर कि ये पिस्टल तो मैं फायर नहीं करने दूंगा, और दूसरे उसके माना आँखों में उंगली डाल के आंखें निकाल लेना. क्या करेगा? या
So really motivating to hear that.
Yeah, very
people
motivating.
have
Yeah, तो I believe in taking action. Don't be dependent कि ये आएगा, पुलिस आएगा, ये करेगा, वो करेगा, कोई कुछ करेगा. कोई कुछ करने से तो ये सब में तुम्हारा जान निकल जाएगा, तो तुम्हें मौका नहीं मिलेगा इसके बाद. You have to act before the aircraft exits Indian airspace. You have to act. After that, the game is gone.
I think that's very insightful and interesting conversation. We have a small section. We call it brisk talk. So I'll ask you very small questions, and you can answer it.
Very small answers.
Just one word or whatever comes to your mind. Anything is fine. Your worst nightmare.
Worst nightmare while I was serving would be if I lose a man while I was serving. And now I don't think I can have a nightmare. I mean, it's all going good.
NSG's key strength areas.
Yeah, versatility. It's very versatile.
Okay.
Versatility, they can do anything. And maybe mobility, they move fast like that. They move. Yep.
Your biggest pride factor, any operation or any kind of training that you have been a part of?
All operations, when you get success, you feel good. It's like you have won a battle. Yeah, anytime. It's, again, keep going back to the same thing. It's cat and mouse. Wherever you have been a cat, you've been able to get a mice. You're lucky कि यार मैंने बोला था ना ऐसा करना है. And there are 10 times when things कि यार ऐसा करना था, आपने बोला था ना, कुछ नहीं हुआ. Yeah, that keeps happening. But then the things work out as you have planned for it, and then you've gone and got some success. Every time that has happened, nothing sweeter than that. Yes.
Your best memory being in the forces?
It's very difficult to say. Every moment I really enjoyed, really loved being in that, especially while we were operating and all, really enjoyed. And while I commanded as well, 52 SAG was completely engrossed and enjoyed throughout. And it's very difficult to say particular moment. Maybe when I took over command of 52, that was a memorable moment. My parents had come over and they pipped me, put on my ranks. I would say really felt very nice.
And I think the last one is your advice for the youth today.
Advice for the youth, very simple. Simple because I keep telling my son the same. You need to be strong. Take it. I keep saying this again and again. The world is a cruel place. You need to be strong. If you're not strong, you will never be respected. Don't waste time. Time is a universal currency. If there's a currency in the world, it is time. Wherever you dedicate more time, आप अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड से ज़्यादा बात करते हैं, टाइम वहाँ पे ज़्यादा लगाते हैं, आपके गर्लफ्रेंड के साथ रिलेशन अच्छा हो जाएगा, बट बाकी चीज़ें छूट जाएंगी. I'm not saying all the girlfriends are going to get angry with me for saying that. Yeah, but that's not what I'm trying to say. मैं कह रहा हूँ कि आपको जो चाहिए वहाँ पे आप टाइम लगाइए, और जहाँ पे आप टाइम लगाएंगे that thing is going to grow for sure. You spend more time with the family, your relation with the family will increase. Yeah, you spend more time in studies, your intellect will improve. You spend more time in your physicals, your physique will improve. Time is essential, time is crucial. Don't waste time. And work hard. Simple. ये सारे बाप अपने बच्चों को ये बताते हैं शायद. There is no success without hard work. No success at all. और जो सक्सेस मिल जाता है विदाउट हार्ड वर्क, दैट डजंट स्टे. वो आपके पास रहेगा भी नहीं और उसकी आप कदर भी नहीं करेंगे. सो यू नीड टू वर्क हार्ड. एंड या, आई थिंक द फ्यूचर इज ऑल योर्स. ऑल द बेस्ट.
Really nice to hear all of that from you, sir. And it was really a pleasure having discussed you all these things firsthand. I know a lot of things are confidential and details could not be shared at times. But first of all, I mean, listening to all this is really, I mean, I would say breathtaking. Some of the operations that we have been part of, and meeting you as a person also is, I mean, I'm feeling really proud to having discussed all these things with you. The kind of operations that you have led, you have also been awarded Shaurya Chakra, right? And third highest award in military.
Gallantry award in peacetime.
Yeah, in peacetime. And thanks again for all your insight, for the insightful discussion and all your detailed conversation on these topics, the questions that I have had, and your advice for the youth. Thanks a lot for coming again. It was really nice having a discussion with you.
Thank you so much, Aditya ji. I really enjoyed. And this particular thing about confidential, most of the stuff I've said is already out there in, you can just, one could just Google or in the Wikipedia, or you could check out a couple of books.
Yeah, I'm
They
sure,
are
I mean, the
all going to be
details.
there.
Yeah.
So I've tried to not reveal anything that I shouldn't have. So yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed being here with you. Wish you all the best and wish you a lot of success with your venture. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.